Hey everyone, it's Barbara and welcome to another of my in the background videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little gingham check with a stencil and ink. MFT has a couple of great gingham stamps, Lisa Johnson Designs textile backgrounds and the cling rubber gingham background, but sometimes you just need a smaller check, and that's what we're making today. I'm starting off with a piece of sweet tooth cardstock. And here are my daubers, by the way. This is what I love to use on stencils, and I love the little box to keep them in. I'm starting off with a piece of sweet tooth cardstock. I'm taping it down to my grid mat. I use repositional tape for this, and this is the kind of Scotch, so that it doesn't mar your cardstock when you take it up. Then I'm going to tape down my all lined up stencil, very carefully, lining up the edges with more repositionable tape. And I'm going to use red hot ink from the premium dye ink pad, and my little dauber. I have all of them labeled with a little shorthand of my own. And I'm going to speed this up because you don't really need to watch me do this in the regular length of time. So I just want to show you how to do it and just tell you to be very careful to hold your stencil tightly down as you're doing this, especially one like this that has all of those very movable pieces to it. After I get it done in one direction, I'm going to turn the stencil 90 degrees, tape it down again, and stencil again with my ink. You don't have to be super careful because I really love the variation you get when it's darker in some places and lighter in other. Take your tape off, and there you have your little gingham check paper. And now I'm going to put it in a card. I'm going to trim off the edges, ½ inch on two of the sides. And I'm going to use it on a sweet tooth cardstock base, top fold, A2 size. But my sentiment panel is going to be heat embossed first. I'm using Seasonal Sentiments because I think it's time I get started on Christmas cards. I say this every year and I never do it, but maybe this year will be the year. So I'm inking up my stamp with Sweet Tooth Pigment ink. I'm stamping it on some black licorice cardstock. And then I'm going to put my white embossing powder on. I use it over a coffee filter, because you'll see why in just a little bit. Now sometimes you'll get a stray piece of embossing powder even though you use the anti-static powder on it. So I just use a sharp point to try to get that off. And then you melt your embossing powder. It really brings it out. And this is why I use a coffee filter. It is so easy to return the leftover back to your bottle. Now I'm just using a craft sponge and some more of my Sweet Tooth Pigment ink to kind of add the chalkboard look. Sometimes you'll see you still have a few stray pieces of melted embossing powder, and I find that just the point of my craft knife, I can just scrape it right off. Usually works great. Okay, so now I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of my gingham panel so I can pop that up on my card base for some dimension. And then the next thing I'm going to do is put my little black panel on there, same way. More foam tape. You can use any kind of dimensional tape or pieces that you want to use, but I just find the tape to work good. Pop that up on the gingham paper, and we're almost done. I had previously cut out a couple of holly leaves from My Favorite Things Christmas Ornaments Die-namics, and now I'm coloring a few just little clear gems with Copic marker. I think I used R27. Set them aside to dry while I attach my leaves. I'm putting just a tiny dot of foam tape at one end of the leaf so that that will be popped up a little bit. And then I'm going to add some liquid glue to the other point so that that will be adhered down to the black paper. Now when they're in place, I'm going to add my little berries. I'm going to use a quickie glue pen for this. These gems do have an adhesive back, but I find that if I use that, it usually shows, so I prefer to take them off of that and just glue them down. They're a little pesky sometimes. And then I make sure they're seated really well. And there it is. Thanks so much for stopping by today.